I was at work, hunched over my laptop, debugging a mess of code, when my phone buzzed with a text that made my blood run cold. I gave your car to your brother. You don't need it. He does. My mom's words stared back at me, casual and cruel, like she'd just borrowed a pen instead of stealing my Honda Curve, the car I'd paid for with every dime I'd scraped together over 2 years. I read it again, my heart pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat, my hands trembling as I gripped the phone. At first I thought it was a sick joke, some twisted prank she'd laugh off later, but deep down, I knew better. This was Karen Riley, my mom, and she didn't joke about control. I shoved my chair back, grabbed my jacket, and stormed out of the office, my mind a blur of rage and disbelief, barely hearing my coworker Lila call after me. "Jake, you okay?" I wasn't okay. I was furious, betrayed, and about to find out just how far she'd go. My name's Jake Riley. I'm 25, a software engineer who spent the last few years clawing my way out of my family's chaos. I grew up in a cramped house on the wrong side of town, wedged between my mom's guilt trips and my younger brother Ethan's entitlement. Dad, Tom, stayed out of it mostly, working long hours at the factory, leaving me to fend for myself. I saved every penny from my first job, coding freelance gigs late into the night, to buy that car, a sleek black CRV I'd dreamed of since I was 16. It was mine, a symbol I'd made it, proof I didn't need anyone. Or so I thought. Now, as I sped toward my parents' place in Lila's borrowed sedan, my chest tight with fury, I realized trusting Mom with the title was the dumbest move I'd ever made. I pulled into the driveway, tires screeching, and saw it, or didn't see it. My car was gone. The empty spot where I'd parked it last weekend glared back at me, a slap in the face. I stormed inside, the screen door banging behind me, and there she was, Karen, sprawled on the couch, scrolling her phone like nothing was wrong, her blonde hair pulled into a messy bun, a glass of cheap wine on the table. "Where's my car?" I demanded, my voice low but shaking, barely holding back the storm inside me. She didn't even look up, just waved a hand like I was a fly buzzing around her. "Your brother needed it more than you," she said, calm as hell. "You've got a job close to home." "He doesn't. I gave it to him." I felt my jaw clench so tight it ached, my fists balling at my sides. "You gave it to him?" I repeated, my voice rising, disbelief crashing into rage. "Mom, that's my car. I paid for it." She finally glanced at me, her blue eyes narrowing, and scoffed. "Oh, please, Jake, we're family. What's yours is his. Besides, you'll be fine without it." My blood boiled, a hot rush that made my ears ring. "You had no right," I snapped, stepping closer, my hands trembling with the urge to grab something, anything, and hurl it. She rolled her eyes like I was the unreasonable one. "Actually, I did," she said, smirking now, her voice dripping with smugness. "The car's in my name." My stomach dropped, a cold, sick thud that stole my breath. She was right. A year ago, my credit was shaky. Too many student loans, so she'd co-signed the loan. I'd put down the cash, made every payment, but the title, hers. I'd trusted her, never imagining she'd pull this. "So what?" I said, my voice shaking with fury. "You just handed him the keys? Signed it over?" She nodded, still smiling, proud of herself. "This morning. Problem solved." I stared at her, my mind racing, my chest heaving. "Mom, that's my money. I paid for it. You had no right." She sighed, dramatic and fake, leaning back like I was exhausting her. "Stop being selfish, Jake. He needs it more. It's done." I stood there, rooted to the spot, feeling like she'd punched me in the gut and laughed about it. She didn't care, didn't even flinch. My car, my freedom, gone because she decided Ethan deserved it more. My chest burned with a fury so raw it felt like it might split me open. My hands clenched into fists, nails digging into my palms until they stung. Mom just sat there, scrolling her phone, her indifference a slap in the face like I was nothing, a kid throwing a tantrum over a toy she'd tossed aside. The room spun, the faded wallpaper and cluttered coffee table blurring as my breath came fast and shallow, every nerve screaming at the injustice. Then my phone rang, a sharp buzz cutting through the haze like a lifeline. I stumbled outside, the cool evening air slamming into my face, crisp and biting, snapping me back to reality. My heart still hammered, a wild drumbeat in my ears as I fumbled the phone to my ear. It was the dealership, a hesitant voice on the line. Mark, the manager I'd dealt with when I bought the car. "Hey, Jake, we got a request to transfer your car's title, but something's off. You aware it's not fully paid off?" I froze, my breath catching in my throat, the words sinking in slow and heavy. "What?" I croaked, my voice rough, barely audible over the rustle of leaves in the yard. "Yeah," he said, his tone cautious but edged with something lighter. "There's a balance on the loan. Contract says it can't be transferred till it's clear." My mind spun, a spark of hope igniting through the thick fog of anger, sharp and bright. "So you're saying—" "I'm saying whoever signed it over didn't have the right," he said, a chuckle creeping into his voice, warm and conspiratorial. "And since you're making the payments, you've got the legal claim, not the title holder. Want me to flag it as fraud?" My hands shook, but now it was adrenaline pumping through me, a grin tugging at my lips despite the chaos in my chest. "Yes," I said, firm and fierce. "Do it." I hung up, the phone still warm in my hand, the night air cooling the sweat on my brow as I stood on the porch, my pulse racing with a new kind of fire, triumph, raw and electric. She'd thought she'd won, thought she could just take what was mine and hand it off like it meant nothing, but she'd miscalculated. I took a deep breath, the cold searing my lungs, and marched back inside, my steps heavy with purpose. Mom was still sprawled on the couch, her wine glass half empty, her thumb flicking across her screen like the world hadn't just shifted under her feet. "We've got a problem," I said, crossing my arms, my voice low and steady, a quiet menace simmering beneath it. She sighed, loud, theatrical, like I was some annoying chore, and didn't even glance up. "What now, Jake?" she muttered, her tone thick with irritation, like I was the one wasting her time. "Dealership called," I said, watching her closely, catching the tiny pause in her fingers, the faint twitch in her jaw. "You can't transfer the title, car's not paid off, I'm the one making the payments, so it's still mine, legally." Her head jerked up, her blue eyes narrowing, a flicker of doubt cracking her smug facade. "That doesn't make sense," she said, sitting up, her voice wobbling just enough to show she wasn't as sure as she pretended. "I signed it this morning. It's done." I stepped closer, my grin sharpening as I saw her unraveling. "No, it's not," I said, slow and deliberate, letting each word land like a hammer. "They flagged it as fraudulent. Unless you're paying off the loan, that car's still mine." Her face twisted, frustration flaring, her lips parting like she wanted to argue but couldn't find the ground to stand on. "But that means—" "That Ethan's driving something he's got no right to," I cut in, my voice cold as ice, slicing through her excuses. "And if I want, I can report it stolen." Her eyes widened, shock washing over her, her wineglass trembling in her hand. "You wouldn't," she whispered, her voice small, almost pleading, a crack in her armor I'd never seen before. I held her gaze, letting her see the fury she'd ignited, the resolve she couldn't break. "Try me," I said, my tone flat, unyielding. Silence stretched, heavy and tense, the room so still I could hear the faint tick of the clock on the wall. Then she exploded, leaping off the couch, her glass clattering onto the table, wine splashing red across the wood. "How could you do this to your family?" she shrieked, her voice piercing, her hands flailing as she stormed toward me, her face flushed with rage. "Your brother needs that car. You're selfish, Jake." I laughed, harsh, bitter, the sound tearing out of me, fueled by the sheer gall of her words. "Selfish?" I roared, stepping into her space, my voice shaking with fury. "You stole from me, Mom. You didn't ask. You took it like my money, my work means nothing. And you've got the nerve to call me selfish?" She gestured wildly toward the empty driveway, her eyes blazing. "He needed it more." "Then he can buy his own damn car," I shouted, my chest heaving, the anger pouring out like a flood I couldn't stop. Dad walked in then, his boots thudding on the hardwood, his broad frame filling the doorway, his face etched with that tired frown he always wore when Mom's chaos spilled over. "What the hell's going on?" he demanded, his voice rough, cutting through the shouting like a blade. Mom spun to him, pointing at me like I was the criminal. "Your son's threatening to call the cops on Ethan because he won't share a car." I stared at her, my jaw dropping at the absurdity. "Share?" I snapped, turning to Dad, my hands slicing the air. "She gave it to him, Dad, without asking. Dealership says the transfer's invalid. It's still mine." Dad's frown deepened, his gray eyes flicking to her, hard and searching. "That true, Karen?" She lifted her chin, defiant, her arms folding tight. "Doesn't matter. He doesn't need it as much as Ethan." Dad pinched the bridge of his nose, exhaling hard, his shoulders slumping. "Do you hear yourself? That's not how this works." Mom huffed, her lips pursing, but I was done listening. I pulled out my phone, my hand steady now, fueled by a cold, unyielding resolve, and scrolled to Ethan's number. "What are you doing?" she demanded, her voice pitching up, panic creeping in. I didn't answer, just hit call, my eyes locked on hers as it rang. Ethan picked up, his voice lazy, smug, like he was kicking back somewhere with my keys in his hand. "Yo, what's up?" "Where's my car?" I asked, my voice ice cold, every word sharp and deliberate. A pause, then a chuckle. Careless, cocky. "Dude, chill. Mom said—" "I don't give a damn what she said." I cut him off, my grip tightening, knuckles whitening. "Dealership flagged the transfer. It's not valid. That car's mine, legally." Silence, then a scoff, his bravado faltering. "So?" "So you've got two options," I said, my voice dropping low, lethal. "Bring it back now, or I report it stolen." He laughed, short, nervous now. "Bro, relax. It's just a car. Get another one." My blood roared, a red haze clouding my vision. "I paid for that car," I said, slow and heavy, letting him feel my fury. "My money, my payments. You've got 1 hour, Ethan, or I call the cops." "You're not serious," he said, but I heard the crack, the doubt seeping in. 1 hour, I repeated, and hung up, the click ringing in the tense air. Mom lost it. Her scream tore through the room, high and jagged, her hands flailing as she lunged at me. "How could you do that to your brother?" "How could you do this to me?" I fired back, my voice trembling with rage, my chest tight with betrayal. "You stole from me, and now you're mad I'm taking it back?" She opened her mouth, her face flushed, but Dad stepped in, sharp. "Enough, Karen." She whirled on him, eyes wide, betrayed. "You're taking his side?" Dad's jaw tightened, patience fraying. "I'm taking the law's side. He paid for it. You had no right." She froze, her breath hitching, then spat. "If he gets it back, he's not welcome here." The words hit hard, a cold ache in my gut, but I squared my shoulders, resolve hardening. "Fine," I said, steady despite the sting. "I'll grab my stuff this weekend." I turned to her, eyes burning. "And don't worry about the cops. You won't like what's coming next." Her face went pale, her mouth dropping. "Wait, what?" "Dealership's repossessing it tomorrow," I said, grabbing Lila's keys. "Let's see how Ethan likes a tow truck rolling up." I walked out, her panicked "no" chasing me into the dark, a desperate wail that fueled my steps. I drove back to Lila's, hands shaking on the wheel, my mind a storm of anger and triumph. Lila waited on her porch, short black hair catching the streetlight, arms crossed. "You look like hell," she said, dry but concerned. "Feel like it," I muttered, slumping beside her, adrenaline fading, leaving me hollow. "Mom gave my car to Ethan. Dealership says it's still mine. Transfer's bunk." Her jaw dropped, then she grinned, fierce. "You're taking it back, right?" "Damn right," I said, a tired smile breaking through. "Repo's tomorrow, but she's not done." Lila nodded, pulling her phone. "We need to lock this down. My friend Stacy at the bank, she'll check your credit. Bet Mom's got more up her sleeve." My stomach twisted, dread creeping in. "You think so?" "With her?" Lila snorted, texting fast. "Count on it." Sleep dodged me that night. My mind churned, Ethan's smug laugh, Mom's entitlement, the empty driveway replaying endlessly. But beneath it, a plan formed. I'd get my car back and make them pay. Morning came and I hit the dealership as they opened, Mark waiting with a grin. "Repo's on," he said, shaking my hand. "Truck's rolling." Relief hit, warm and steady, but he slid a paper over, grin fading. Found something else. I looked. A second loan, $28,000, in my name, 2 months old, for a Toyota RAV4 I'd never seen. My stomach plummeted, ice flooding my veins, hands shaking as I gripped the desk. "What the hell?" Mark leaned in, voice low. "Someone used your info. Guess who's driving it?" My blood ran cold, rage roaring back. "Mom." I sat there stunned, the paper trembling, betrayal cutting deeper than ever. She'd taken my car for Ethan and stolen my identity for herself, all while trashing my credit. My fists clenched, nails biting, rage blinding. "She took out a loan in my name?" I whispered, voice breaking. Mark nodded, grim. "Payments are late. Your score's tanked." I stood, chair scraping, mind racing. "What do I do?" Mark's grin sharpened. "Report it. Fraud, identity theft. I've got the records. She's toast." My phone buzzed. Ethan. WTF, dude, where's my car? I ignored it, a cold satisfaction settling in. The repo had hit. Mom called next, voicemail popping up fast. How dare you do this to family? She screeched. I laughed, bitter, and let it sit. Lila called then, urgent. Stacy checked your credit, worse than we thought. 2 late payments on the RAV4 and a 3rd loan app pending, denied last week. She's a machine. My gut twisted, fury surging. A 3rd? Yeah, Lila said. We need to move. Meet me at the bank. I sped over, hands shaking, mind a whirlwind. Stacy Miller met us, a petite woman with glasses, all business, her desk a fortress of files. Jake, she said, sliding my credit report over, this is bad. $28,000 loan, late payments, and another $15,000 attempt, all in your name, all Karen. I stared, throat tightening, betrayal a knife in my chest. She's ruining me, I whispered, voice cracking. Lila squeezed my shoulder. Not if we stop her. Stacy, can we freeze this? Stacy nodded, typing fast. Filing fraud now. Locks your credit, flags the loans. But you need the cops. Identity theft's a felony. I called Detective Marcus Vega next, a gruff cop I'd met through Lila's contacts, his voice a low growl on the line. Bring everything, he said. Bank docs, dealership stuff. I'll dig. I met him that afternoon, handing over the stack, credit report, Mark's records, Stacy's fraud filing. He flipped through, whistling low. She's bold, he said, dark eyes sharp. This is felony territory, multiple counts. Got any idea where she's at? Home, I said, my voice tight. Or with Ethan. He nodded. I'll check it out. Ethan texted again, pissed. You're a dick. Repo guy took it from my job. I grinned, cold and sharp, but then Lila called. Trouble. Ethan's buddy Ronnie's stirring shit. Saw him on Instagram, bragging about teaching you a lesson. Watch your back. My stomach dropped. Ronnie Baxter, Ethan's sleazy friend, a wiry guy with a loud mouth and a rap sheet. Great, I muttered, dread mixing with resolve. What's he planning? No clue, Lila said, but he's dumb, might push Ethan to do something stupid. That night my phone lit up, Mom screaming in voicemail, You're ruining us! Drop this, Jake, or you'll regret it. I deleted it, heart pounding, but an hour later, tires screeched outside Lila's place. I peeked out, Ethan and Ronnie, leaning against a beat-up truck, Ethan red-faced, Ronnie smirking, a crowbar dangling from his hand. Come out, asshole, Ethan yelled, voice slurring, drunk, maybe high. My pulse spiked, fear and fury colliding. Lila grabbed her phone. Calling Vega, stay put. I nodded, watching as Ronnie swung the crowbar at her mailbox, metal crunching loud in the quiet night. You took my ride, Ethan bellowed. You're done. Vega rolled up 10 minutes later, lights flashing, Ethan and Ronnie scattering like roaches. He caught Ronnie, Ethan bolted, and hauled him in, crowbar as evidence. Next day Vega called. Ronnie squealed. Ethan's idea, but your mom egged them on. She's desperate. My chest tightened. What's next? Warrant's out, he said. She's facing fraud, theft, maybe conspiracy. Her RAV4's repo'd tomorrow. Karen sued me a week later, claiming I owed her for family support. But Vega's evidence buried her. Bank records, loan docs, Ronnie's testimony. Court was quick. She lost. Ordered to repay $35,000. Her account's frozen. RAV4 gone. Vega called after. She's arrested. Felony charges, 3 years minimum. Ethan ghosted. Ronnie ditched him. And Dad left her, moving out with a quiet, I'm done. I got my TRV back. Credit climbing. Working with Lila on a new app. But last night, a text. No number. They're not finished. My pulse jumped. Karen's smirk flashing in my mind. She's locked up, broke, alone, her life ash. But that shadow lingers. I'm free, stronger, but I'll keep fighting. Life's a grind, right? Mom taught me trust's a gamble. You win or you learn. She's down, suffering, but I'm not blind. Desperation breeds tricks. What do you think? Can she still hit me from there, or am I clear? Drop your take below. Ever had family pull this? Tell me. I'm listening.